Best of r/entitled parents episode 133. Subscribe for edit videos daily. This was almost 10 years ago and we still talk about it to this day. But when I graduated high school in 2010, I promised my great-grandma that I'd move in to help with certain stuff because she was getting older and suffering from arthritis. Now she's 88 and still kicking. BTW. Around this time, her sister, the entitled aunt, EA, was living with her. She didn't have a house of her own and kept saying she'd get one but would just forget about it for some reason. Anyways, this EA is one of the most hypocritical and rudest people ever. She's a Catholic and works at a nearby church, and yet she's the classic homophobic, anti-atheist, anti-Muslim, anti-abortion, anti-anything that she claimed would send people to hell while claiming to be a loving Catholic. You get the idea. In 2011, I moved in with my great-grandma and from the very beginning, EA decided to try and make my life miserable. She would brag about her grandkids and say that they'll be successful in life and say since I'm autistic and an atheist I am not going anywhere in life anytime soon, and if only OP was like my grandkids, he would actually accomplish something. Now her grandkids, my cousins, are much younger than me, the oldest just turning 18. And they're anything but entitled. My aunt just glorifies them. I don't even think they respect her. Not even their mom respects her. EA talks shit about her all the time and probably still does. But that's another story. Here's what kickstarted EA getting booted out of the house. But for a bit of context, leading up to it, she started trash talking me under her breath almost every day until one fateful afternoon. In 2012, my great-grandmother and my mom drove a few hours south to Santa Barbara to visit my brother who went to college at UCSB, which left me alone with EA. I went upstairs to give my dog a bath in the tub. After I was finished, I let the dog out to the back, put the bath supplies on the porch and went upstairs to clean the dirt off the tub. I bleached every inch of it but apparently missed a small spot. That's when I heard my name being called. I go upstairs and lo and behold, it's EA. EA, you never do anything right in here. You missed a spot. Me. I look at the small smudge that was the size of a dime. My bad. I got it. EA, and this is why you're not getting a job anytime soon. You can't do anything right. Me. You're getting worked up about a small bit of grime I missed. Chill out. EA. No. You need to learn to be like my grandkids. They're perfect examples of me. I don't care about their upbringings. Now are you going to shut it or do you want me to raise my voice at you? EA. Now listen here you little asshole. I don't care who you think you are. You will not disrespect me like that. At this point I just grabbed my stuff, leashed up my dog, and just left. I texted my mom the ordeal and she told my great-grandmother. Now my great-grandma doesn't get mad, but boy she was absolutely ticked off. When she got home, the first thing she told her was this. GG, I cannot believe you would talk to my great-grandson like that. EA, what are you talking about? GG, he told me and his mother everything. How dare you say these horrible things to him? EA, well you should have heard what he said to me. GG, I don't care. You have been rude to him ever since he moved in. Now you have the next few months to find a house of your own because you're not living here ever again. That's final. My great-grandma told her other siblings about the ordeal and it spread like wildfire. Relatives in Colorado, Texas, California, Nevada, and probably beyond heard about this and were absolutely livid at EA. My great-grandma's one of 13 kids and had 7 of her own and is also a cancer survivor. That's a whole lot of badassery for a 4'8" Hispanic lady. My family's big but close to each other. EA found out about the shitstorm she caused and blamed me for it, saying if you make stuff up about me ever again, I'll kick your ass, to which I replied with you don't respect me anyways before she slammed the door. But her son, Ease, didn't believe she was rude to me. So to prove it, I recorded audio of her trash talking me in her room. It was next to mine, so I would gently lay my phone on the door and it would catch her calling me names like queer or retarded or anything she could think of when she talked about me. I then sent them to my mom who showed Ease. He was shell-shocked and decided he would help kick her out just a couple of months after I recorded her insulting me. Now she lives with a friend and I wouldn't be surprised if she still talked bad about me. Whenever I see her, she ignores me. She knows I may be self-controlled, but I will not hesitate to make your life a living hell if you give me reasons to. As for Gigi, she's 88, still going strong, and barely talks to EA. Thank you. Next. Just wanted to know that I am not encouraging any negative attention towards religion and that I respect it as if I was practicing it. So, a bit of context. I was raised Christian, and when I got to the age of understanding the real world and how religion can be, I decided that there was no higher power watching over us. With that in mind, I didn't go to church anymore after that. So I never got to know the community that went to that church, and boy was that a mistake. I swear I can't go near any of them without them talking about the same thing. Some conversations got more severe than others, but the one I'm about to tell you takes the trophy. This took place at one of my favorite sushi bars, and now I work there for now as I am trying to get a different job that is higher paying. I was with my girlfriend and we decided to go to my favorite restaurant for our date. Though as we were walking to our table, I see a group of housewives and two of the people who went to the church I used to go to talking together and chatting about whatever they were talking about in the first place. Then one of them looks at me with disgust when she saw my tattoos. And then they all started looking at me the same way, which was kinda weird, to be honest. Anyway, I'm having a great time with my girl and one of them walks over to our table. The conversation went around like this. Cast, OP, your boy, GF, best in the world, HW1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the Legion of Karens, M, manager, HW1. Ugh, what have you done to your body with those vile pictures on your arms? Me wearing a black t-shirt with all my tattoos showing and was caught off guard by this comment. OP, I'm sorry, but what do you mean my tattoos? HW1, yes of course I mean your tattoos. Gosh, aren't you the dullest crayon in the box? I laughed at this and had no idea what she meant by dullest crayon in the box. OP laughing under breath, I'm sorry, but why are you here besides insulting me? HW1, to tell you that you have sinned and that you need God. GF. First off, don't insult my boyfriend like that. Secondly, we are atheists and don't believe in God. Thirdly, we don't need anyone and leave us alone. HW1 was shocked by this comment and gasped like it was a dying breath. Then HW2 and 3 came over to see what happened to HW1. Now, most of the people in the restaurant have the attention of the table we are sitting at. HW1. How dare you insult me like that? And the fact that you don't believe in God is ridiculous. This is what God meant about not finishing his creation. Quite frankly, I had no idea that God didn't finish his creation. Though since I was paranoid at this point, I decided to reply with this. OP, didn't God tell you to love your neighbor as you love yourself? The whole crowd was hooing after that comment. HW3, I thought that you were an atheist. OP. OP, yes I am. Though that doesn't mean I haven't read scripture when I was little. HW2, but that is just not possible. Jew. GF. And yet you say that God can do the impossible. Looks like we were both right. Well, maybe just since we can't prove that God is. OP, I agree. So why don't you leave us alone, or the manager will come to solve this situation, and I'm pretty sure that this will go our way. The HWs were struck with disgust because of our so-called bad manners. And then HW3 went back to their table, but HW1 and 2 stuck around for a little bit more. HW1, I knew you never were a good Christian. You always were the black sheep of the family. GF, don't you talk to him like that. Show some respect. HW2, no one cares about your opinion, goth brat. OP, now you people are starting to piss me off. Leave now. M, hello everybody. What seems to be the problem here? HW1. These two verbally abused us and were threatening our lives. M, is this true? Looking at us. OP, if anything, these two are the ones who are verbally abusing us, though no one was threatened with their lives. HW2, liar. GF, hypocrite. M, let me go look at the footage to see who did who and all of this will be solved. HW1 and 2, no, we will leave them alone, no footage has to be brought out. HW3, 4 and 5 packing up their stuff and paying for their checks were trying to leave so they weren't seen here. M, Mom, I'm sorry but we have to review it since we have a complaint from these two. HW1 looking at me, you two are gonna burn in hell. Atheists, OP and GF, we don't believe in hell. After that statement, They head back to their table, pay for their checks and decide to make a run for it. They ended up getting away, but at this point, we didn't care. M reviewed our footage and our statement proved to be true. We ended up getting free dinner for it and decided that this will be one for the books. I ended up applying as a bartender at the sushi bar a week later since I was out of a job. We decided to have dates at our apartments for now since we were tired of them Karens. Thank you. Next. This story happened a few years ago. For context, I met my girlfriend online and found that while we did live in the same country, we unfortunately lived a minimum of 6 hours apart. Not the worst situation out there, but not exactly ideal either because of the regular travel and long hours. Us both being broke as hell, the only way we'd ever get to see each other is if one of us jumped on some sort of public transport and stomached the journey, but due to the aforementioned brokenness, we would often have to take a budget coach company as well. This did increase the amount of travel time substantially. It was sometimes upwards of 1/10 of the price of taking a train. If you've never taken budget transport, I would not recommend it as it seems to be a breeding ground for all sorts of strange, annoying, or invasive behavior. I also have a bunch of other stories because of this. This is further compounded by people ignoring polite etiquette all the time. I'm not sure what it's like in other countries, but in mine England everybody silently agrees that nobody wants to be on public transport, so everyone is usually happy to just leave each other alone in absolute silence. This goes doubly so if the transport is at night because people are trying to sleep. This story was in fact on a late night coach, so imagine the situation. People are tired, already uncomfortable, and just want to get where they want to go and not be bothered so things can go as smoothly as possible. Okay, context over. This is where our story begins, and thanks for sticking with me this far. Having just said goodbye to my girlfriend, I got on the coach after being stood waiting in the freezing winter cold for some time for the coach to arrive, about 30 minutes late. Another quirk of budget travel. At this point I was already tired, emotionally and physically drained, and just wanted to get settled in, so I did a quick scan of the seating situation, noticed that it was already pretty full, and flopped into the first empty pair of seats I could find. This company didn't do seat bookings, so it was a free-for-all and I was quite happy I didn't have to sit next to anyone, at least for the first leg of my journey. I had been sat down for maybe a minute, when a hand reached between the seats from behind me and tapped me on the shoulder. This, as you may have guessed, was my first encounter with entitled mum. Excuse me, what do you think you're doing? I really had no idea and just wanted to be left alone, so as politely as I could I said, me, nothing? Why? That's a disabled seat you know. I honestly hadn't noticed, but she was correct and I am not disabled, so technically that could have been an issue if a disabled person did come aboard at some point. Me, oh, I hadn't noticed, thanks for letting me know. That's right, you need to move. I was a little confused because not only was there no disabled person needing the seats, but it wasn't like she wanted them either. She was sitting with her kid in the seats behind and they had clearly been on the coach for a while with blankets and food and various other things out that people commonly use on long distance travel all over them, so they were clearly comfortable. Me, I guess I'll move if someone needs it. No, now. I have no idea why she thought she owned the place and needed to inflict her will on random strangers who weren't following the rules to the letter, but sadly, it worked on me. I was so tired and had already talked to this human way more than I had planned, so I just sighed and moved to another seat. The seat I moved to did have someone next to it, but they were considerate and got off at the next stop anyway, so I got a free double seat about an hour into the journey. I could see the previous seat from the place I moved to and saw EM pull this weird stunt at least 3 more times in the next 2 hours, every time badgering these people until they moved, but still never taking the seat for themselves or anything like that. It was weird. They continued doing this until we got to our third stop when in walks a group of bros that were clearly just coming home after a pub crawl. They were your loud, stereotypical drunk lads, DLs, but to their credit, as soon as the driver told them to keep it down, they did and were as considerate as a group of drunk people can be. They talked a lot, but never in raised voices. They continued drinking, but never bothered anyone and even cleaned up when one of them spilled something, much to the mocking of the other DLs. without being told to. The DLs of course went straight for the empty seats because they wanted to sit together, which of course angered the EM for some reason. EM, you people need to move. That's a disabled seat and you're disturbing my daughter. DLs, nah mate, we're good. We're pretty paralytic already, so that counts. For the record, the kid was not being disturbed at all and was already sound asleep and had been for some time. The DLs weren't being loud, so they were never going to wake her up. So it just seemed like EM added the extra reason as an excuse to exercise her own agenda. EM, you boys can't sit there, she said dismissively. The DLs, obviously objecting to her dismissive tone, completely ignored her from that point on, which she was clearly unhappy about, but there really wasn't anything she could do about it, except for continuing to complain, which she did, a lot. She even tried to complain to the driver more than once, but he basically told her, in a voice that sounded like he didn't get paid enough for this, that if they aren't being loud, abusive and aren't stopping a disabled person using the seats, they have every right to sit there. Fast forward a couple of hours now and EM had continued to complain at the DLs the entire time. We stopped so the driver could take a break and so everyone could get out and stretch their legs, etc. The DLs took full advantage of this to go out, grab a smoke, and generally reignite their rowdy attitude from the previous night for a few minutes before returning to being quiet and respectful on the coach. For some reason this seemed to wind EM up even more, like the very concept of the DLs having fun now offended her. Her solution to this was to wake up her sleeping daughter, march her to the front of the coach where the doors are, lean out of the door and shout at the DLs while pointing at her kid. EM, how dare you act this way? Don't you know there is a child here? The DLs collectively told her to F off and carried on their business until the driver returned, where they put out their cigarettes, and quietly got back on the bus, politely pushing past EM and her now cranky kid. This kid must have only been 4, maybe 5, I'm not great at judging age, and as such had really no idea what was happening here, but now that she was awake, she was going to make sure that everyone knew it. I don't blame the kid at all for her behavior over the next several hours, because EM made no attempt to stop it and on occasion, she'd encourage it. EM would tell her kid to run up to random people just to say hello and not leave until they said hello back. Yes, even if they were sleeping. The kid would talk extremely loudly and EM would tell her to keep quiet, but instead would bring her voice up to match her kids. They would even randomly start singing and clapping to church songs out of nowhere ad nauseum. A personal favorite of theirs seemed to be, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, over and over. This was annoying to me and I wasn't even trying to sleep. I can only imagine what it was like for everyone else. This continued until one of the DLs decided it was time something was said with a ton of drunken confidence. DL1, excuse me, you need to move seats, you're disturbing my bros. EM, stunned, how dare you talk to me like that? She just went off on them for several minutes while they sat there full on laughing in her face the entire time, until one of the DLs interrupted her. DL2, whoa miss, that's not very joyful, what would Jesus say? If they were trying to hide their laughter before they stopped trying and all of them went into fits of laughter before all drunkenly starting to sing and clap. DLs, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart at the EM. Probably realizing she'd lost this one, EM just sank into her seat and endured the mocking for the rest of my time on the coach, which was about an hour. They were clearly winding down and going to stop at one point, but when the kid joined in, they thought that was so funny that they just kept going. I got the feeling that they'd stop when the kid did, and in their drunken state, they were ready to commit. I got off the coach at my stop about an hour later and they were still going. Never mess with lads on a night out, they'll outdo you. TL. Dr. Entitled Parent tries to stop drunk people existing in her space for no reason, pays the price of humiliation. Edit, me and the girlfriend now happily live together, 4 years going strong, and while the travel stories are sometimes fun, we definitely do not miss the travel. Thank you. Next. Title says it all, but I'll go into detail. My sister lives with my parents along with her BF and my niece. My mum pays for everything, rent, food, EM can't even be trusted to be given money to do a food shop, holidays etc. Since my mum is divorcing my dad, she decided to move out and get her own place, and her name is on the original house. Now last week in the UK they decided to put tougher measures on contact due to COVID-19. I thought since we can't go out, my mum can visit us and we can do the 2-meter distancing. I am very strict with this kind of thing since my work has been given daily health and safety lectures, have dinner and just chat. I haven't seen my mum in a couple of months and thought it was a nice gesture for Mother's Day. Now my sister has decided that me and my husband are sick, even though she spoke to me the day before and I was fine, and that I am now going to infect my mum and therefore her child. So now she has threatened my mum not to come back, but transfer her money for my niece's childcare, all the span of a 10-minute tirade. I told my mum to treat it as a personal vacation from her constant demands and enjoy the next 3 weeks while it lasts. Maybe make it 4 weeks. She laughed and we had a good Sunday dinner. Thank you. Next. Okay, so this is my first time posting here. Basic stuff. The dialogue here is translated from another language. Please bear with me as I try to get the closest to it as I could. Also, grammar. Please excuse any grammar mistakes. Cast. EM. Entitled Mother/Karen. IK. Poor innocent kid of Karen T. Taylor M. My mom Emmy. Your local alien, not Dio. On with the story. This all happened back in February and I thought it would be kinda fun to bring it up. Sorry if this is kinda short, for this is literally the first time I encountered a Karen in the wild. It was a week before prom when Em and I picked up my prom dress. T was almost done with it, so we decided to wait for a bit. It was on the mannequin as people walked by to ask how much it was. T had to explain that someone, Emmy, had it made, so they just left it alone. Of course, everyone except EM. And that is when T went down. EM, excuse me, but how much do you want for this? She means the dress. T, I'm sorry, mom, but that is a custom-made gown and someone already paid for it. EM, by who? I don't see anyone here who seems to have the size for this. Emmy owns that. EM, what? Nonsense. They don't even look like it. They're too short. Emmy, wow, rude. EM, don't you dare talk back to your elders. Do you have no respect whatsoever? Emmy, aren't you a hypocrite? T, mom, please leave, or I would have no choice but to call security. That's when EM grabbed the mannequin and started to leave. T and M grabbed the other end of the mannequin as it suddenly became tug of war. Of course, with EM being shorter and weaker, T and M managed to get back the mannequin and dress without any damages. EM cussed us all out before she went storming out. IK apologized for EM's behavior with their face flustered from embarrassment and left afterwards. Everything went smooth after that and we never heard from EM. I apologize if this is kind of anticlimactic, but we didn't really press any charges or anything since we didn't want any further troubles. Tilda. Thank you. Next. This is my first post here. Stole it from my geography teacher. AP Human Geography. So my teacher used to teach in Indiana, USA, and for those of you who don't know, they're pretty conservative and religious there. He was teaching a lesson about a homicide and this happened. Labels. Dumbest Kid, Donkey Kong, DKED, entitled Dad. So in his lesson plan my teacher included an event that he based the lesson off of, and the lesson was based off of an article. The article's main topic was a homicide. That was supposed to be partially what the lesson was about. For some reason, DK read homicide as homicide. I assume he thought it meant a gay person killing another gay person or whatever, but DK decided to tell his dad. ED wasn't having any of that. He didn't want his son to be exposed to that kind of stuff. He wanted his son to know without a doubt that homosexuality is a sin. Can we just have a bruh moment for all who believe this? Thank you. Next. Hello cherubs, I'm back. So we're in lockdown at the minute and I figured, why not post another installment about my entitled aunt? It can help me pass some time and act as a kind of therapy. Not been a fun week. Anyways, I'll probably post about how my entitled aunt reacted when she found out that I was a drag queen at some point this week. Not much else to do when you can't leave the house. But this story will focus on her meltdown upon finding out I was gay. EA was right, oh shocker. Seriously though, I don't believe that my favorite color or toys as a child turned me gay. I was a fabulous biatch from the moment I was born, haha. Anyways, I'd have been 15 at the time of this story. Now it's around this age that kids, in the area I grew up anyways, would start to get their first boyfriends and girlfriends. Nothing serious or anything. Puppy love, I guess. It was around this time that I started to realize that I wasn't attracted to girls. I thought they were pretty, funny, smart, etc. But I never wanted a girlfriend. It didn't take me long to figure out that I was gay. My mom had several gay friends and even she herself is bisexual, so coming out was something that I never really feared. I told my mom that I was gay when we were watching a movie and she just gave me a hug and told me that she loved me no matter what. Anyways, a couple of weeks later we headed to my grandma and grandpa's house for a family barbecue and, of course, entitled aunt was there. Now, important note, I had brought my boyfriend with me. We had been best friends since we were like 5 and had started dating about a week or so before I told my mom. He's bisexual, so we'd been dating for just under a month at this point. Entitled aunt was the only one that didn't know about this, for obvious reasons. Now, back to the story. We arrived at about 1 o'clock to help set up the tables for the rest of the family. The only other people there were my grandparents, my uncle, mom's side, uncle's wife, my older cousin, EA and EC. Everything was okay for a while. But, of course, this didn't last. My grandpa was always welcoming to any friends or partners of the family, so he made sure that my boyfriend felt welcome. After about an hour my grandpa, uncle and my boyfriend decided to head up to the attic to get some fishing gear for my boyfriend. My grandpa was a hoarder and tended to buy a lot of stuff from car boot sales that he would give away to family and friends. Does anyone else's grandparents do that, or is it just mine? That left myself, mom, grandma, GM, oldie cousin, OC, and EA. Uncle's wife had went to the store and EC way playing in the park across the street. I was in the middle of braiding my older cousin's hair when my boyfriend left, so he gave me a peck on the cheek and headed upstairs. And of course, entitled aunt was staring. EA, what was that? Me, what was what? EA, did he just kiss you? Me, internally screaming, oh, yeah, EA, you're not going to do something about it? Me, what do you mean, EA? EA, I mean, you should knock that fairy out. Be a man for once, OP. Do you really want random homophobic slurs taking advantage of you like that? Me, but, he's not taking advantage. EA, boys don't kiss other boys, OP, you know that. He's supposed to be your friend and friends don't kiss each other. BS. I have a bunch of friends, male and female, that I have no issue being affectionate with. GM, oh, BF isn't ARP's friend. He's his boyfriend. Aren't they sweet? I love my grandma to pieces. She thought EA only had a problem because she thought BF and I were just friends. EA, what? You're not serious, are you? ARP's a homophobic slur. Yes. BF is ARP's boyfriend. They are an adorable couple and everyone in the family has been accepting. EA, everyone else knows apart from me. OP, why would you do this to me? Me, EA, I didn't want to exclude you, but I knew you were going to act like this when I told you. OC, you constantly berate him for not being man enough and use disgusting sluts when you talk about him. Can you blame OP for not wanting to tell you? EA, I never meant it. That's just how I talk. If OP told me, then I would have stopped. No you wouldn't. He's asked you to stop countless times, so have I. Why do you think I stopped talking to you for ages? I'm not having that kind of attitude around my son. He's not going to feel unwelcome in his own family. EA, but I'm not trying to make him uncomfortable. I can help him now that I know what the problem is. What do you mean help him? EA, it's obvious, isn't it? He just hasn't met the right girl yet. He's only little. I'm not 5 EA. I'll help set him up with a nice girl. There are some lovely girls in our neighborhood who would love a boyfriend like OP. She turned to me, held my hand, I'd finished cousin's hair by now, and smiled at me. EA, doesn't that sound nice, OP? We'll get you a nice little girlfriend. A sweet boy like you wouldn't have any problems with girls, right? Okay, first, she winked at me. Gross. And secondly, I don't want a girlfriend, EA. Me, I don't want a girlfriend. I'm happy the way I am. EA, you can't be happy like that, doll. You're going to end up dead because of this. People get killed for being like that, you know. OC, they get murdered by bigots like you who don't think it's right. EA, it isn't right. I'm only looking out for OP. OC, if you weren't so obsessed with looking kind, then you'd tell him that what he's doing is wrong. I don't want this kind of influence around EC. OC, then don't bring her to family events then. EA, ignoring OC and looking at my mum. You know, there's some places in the world that do conversion therapy. I could help you a little to pay for him to get that. They'll be able to fix him. No, just no, EA. At this point my cousin looks like she's about to punch this bitch into next week, and my mom and grandma are focused on trying to help me calm down. I felt like I was on the verge of a panic attack. EA, you encourage this. Pointing at my mom, you let him act like a homophobic slur all the time when he was little. Playing with Barbies and wearing pink all the time. Actually it was purple and red. EA, get your facts straight back. GM, that's enough. If I hear any more of this nonsense, then you and EC can get your stuff and leave. You are not making my grandson uncomfortable on my watch. EA, but GM, I said enough. If you want to act like a psycho about it, then how about you go to your own mom's house? GM knew this would piss EA off. EA's mom and dad stopped talking to her after they caught her stealing from them. The only reason my grandparents allowed her to visit was so that EC wouldn't feel abandoned. Plus they kept an eye on her and made sure nothing went missing. EA looked like she both wanted to slap my grandma and burst into tears. Nothing else was said about for the most part. My grandma pulled me aside and reminded me that she loved me and told me to ignore entitled aunt. She's just a bigot. I found out later that EA had been telling other family members about me being gay, hoping they'd side with her. They didn't. She eventually left after a couple of hours but made sure to share things online about conversion therapy, how gay people can be cured, and even gave my number to a few of her friends' daughters and nieces, trying to set me up with them. I actually have one of the girls as a friend online. She thought that EA was being ridiculous. BF and I dated till we were around 17. We are still good friends and text/video call whenever we can. He's currently studying abroad. He and my current boyfriend and really good friends as well. So that was my story of how my psychotic entitled aunt found out I was gay. I'm surprised she was actually shocked by it. I think everyone in my family saw it coming. Anyways, I hope to be able to post another installment soon. Stay safe, my lovelies. I hope you all are having a great day despite the lockdown and stuff. TLDR, EA finds out I'm gay, freaks out and recommends conversion therapy. Then tries to set me up with a bunch of random girls to fix me.